Morning, morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for another live Q&A session here on my channel. Words are hard. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I am a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you tips, tricks, techniques, things that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And then we get together in these weekly chats to talk about a topic or two. We'll see how it goes. Anywho, today's topic is why authors choose one narrator over another. So if you are a narrator, you can add your tips, your advice if you want to. Of course, this is open forum as always. If you're an author watching, then please give us your insight as well. I'm going to share with you what I have learned through my tenure as a audiobook narrator today. So these, of course, are my opinions and what I have seen. But if you have something different, please share. No hate here, no judgment. So we have a poll every week, of course. This poll is today. What do you think matters most to authors in terms of performance, or let's just say an audiobook audition in general? What do you think they're looking for? The poll responses are performance, which 74% of you said was the most important thing. Audio quality, 9% of you said audio quality, 13% of you said reliability, and 4% of you said communication. Well, let's touch on that really quick because, of course, I think it's all of them, right? Of course, it's all of them. But I think and I always stress for any kind of business owner, and for us specifically as voice actors and audiobook narrators, we focus on so much of what we focus a lot of our time and attention on what it is that we need to do instead of looking at things from our client's perspective. As I've said before, if you think about an audiobook or just a book from the author's perspective, they've spent years, perhaps months even, months, maybe even years, working on this thing. This is more than a project. It's part of them. It's a big deal to get an audiobook or a book published. I was just a book in general. And of course, these days, an author is expected to have all formats of the book. I mean, back in the day, it used to be just a print copy, and then there was the ebooks, right? But now, in today's world, an author is now expected to have an audiobook version of their book as well. So having said that, spending months, perhaps years writing a book, and then investing in editing, formatting, maybe even possibly book coaching, they've already invested quite a bit of money into creating this thing, this baby, right, that they've worked on. And then they've probably invested even more money to have it properly formatted for the other two types, print and ebook, right? And now they need to get the audiobook done. And that's usually the last one because it's the most time consuming, I think, of formats to get done. So what they're looking at is when they're soliciting auditions for the audiobook, what they're looking at is someone not only that they trust, let's just say it's a per finished hour book, someone that they can trust with giving all of this money, this time, if they can trust you with this baby that they now have, right? I want to be able to trust this person to not only give over my child, because I'm sure that's what it feels like, but then also pay them to take it. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And for any of us, you, everybody watching, if you were in that position, what would you be looking for? Me, I would be looking for someone who not only understood what it is that I was going for, right? Do they understand the tone of what I have written? Do they understand where the characters are coming from? Are they communicating? Are they answering questions promptly, relatively promptly? Are they giving me clear answers? Are they conducting themselves professionally? And then, even on top of that, can I look them up on social media and see what kind of person they are? Because the same big question that we ask as voice actors, audiobook narrators, for anybody who approaches us is this a scam? Authors are no different. Is this a scam? Is this a real person? Am I giving my baby and all of this money to someone who is just going to use an AI voice, or someone who is just going to run away with my money? Right? How many books have they done before? Maybe this is probably not even a big question, but is there anybody in maybe my circles that can tell me that they've worked with this person before? Have they heard of this person? Are they reliable? Do they deliver on time? Do they communicate? Do they, all of the things that we do as business owners? We trust but verify, right? I think all of these pull responses are important. And we think it's more about the performance or my audio quality. And yes, those are factors, but it's so much more than that. So when we talk about, in all of the videos, if you've watched my content on YouTube for any length of time, that I have several videos on YouTube where I go through the process of auditioning on ACX. And I always stress to include a note, a personalized note, along with you to accompany your audio audition that reflects that you are flexible, that you can, this of course this audition was based on the context that I was given, because we don't always get a ton of context when we audition for a book. Sometimes it's just a snippet. Sometimes it's the entire book, but more often than not, it's maybe a page, maybe it's a chapter. We don't have the whole view of the project. We just get a snippet. So I always include a note that says, based on, what was here, this was my interpretation of what was given. Of course, I am open to feedback and I am willing to shift the pace or the tone. I am open to suggestion. I am open to your coaching and your direction. This is your baby. You tell me what you need, essentially, right? I connected with your copy. I connected with your story. I connected with your character. I connected with this information. I'm well versed in this information if it's nonfiction, whatever it is, but include that note along with your audition. It makes all the difference. If you take the time to include that note, it does make a difference. Because you don't want to just, shotgun a bunch of auditions and then not, maybe include a short note that says, hey, thanks for the opportunity, that, versus someone else who maybe wasn't as good as you, but left me a nice long note about how they connected, how they understood, how they related. That might just be the thing that gets you the job over the fantastic, brilliant narrator that perhaps didn't quite connect. Not just the text itself, but the audition itself, right? Did you take the time to understand the copy as much as you could with what you were given, right? It does matter. It does matter. So I would say treat every audition as if it was yours, if it was the book that you wrote. And that will make a whole bunch of difference. I'm seeing all of your comments and everything. Now, if you're watching on TikTok, please leave questions. I might not see them all, but I'm going to try my best to go through these and see if I see any questions. But please ask. That's what these are for, right? These are what these are for. So please ask your questions. And again, if you're an author watching, please give us your insights too. I mean, what makes you choose, or what compels you to choose one narrator over another? I think it's not always, and I do say it's because maybe perhaps you weren't the voice they were looking for, but there is more to it than that, I think. It's all about trust and listenability, even, right? Because even you yourself as a voice actor, audiobook narrator, and I realize I'm going on a tangent, but you guys seem to like these, so I'm just going to allow the tangent to flow. But you yourself as a voice actor, audiobook narrator, we listen to audiobooks too. And you have preferences and how you like to listen to narrators. Some, even if it's a book that you were really interested in. And I've had this happen to me a few times where the information in the book was something that I really wanted to know more about. But the narrator just read it so flatly and so monotone, just disconnected from what it is that I could not finish it. I could not finish it. Now I have to buy the book and read the book. But just like me, we all have preferences in what we like to listen to, and authors do too. Is this someone that I can listen to for hours on end? Right? So even if you had the most stellar audio quality and you have the most delicious voice, if you're just not a fit, you're not a fit, right? But even if you were close enough and, were professional and maybe left them a big note, I mean, there's all these different elements that could contribute to why an author chooses one over another. And it's not always what we think, right? So the purpose of today is just to encourage you to think a little bit deeper, kind of try to peek behind the curtain from the author's point of view, and maybe don't take it so personally if an author doesn't choose you, because it's not always, that your audio sucks or your voice is, horrible, or your performance was horrible, or whatever it is. It may not be the thing. Maybe you did everything right. You left a big long note and you hit the nail on the head, right? You nailed the audition. But author's preference, maybe you just, weren't right for that book. You were fantastic. You're just not right for this book, right? I've had that happen many times before. I've had a lot of mentees and students tell me that I've auditioned for a book, and this has happened to me too. I've auditioned for one book, and the author said, well, this was fabulous, and I loved it, but I don't think you're right for this book. However, I do have more coming, and we can have you audition for that one, or I can just give you that one. It's happened many, many times. Just looking at my notes here, progress updates. Once you are hired, stay in touch with the author. Give them an idea, assuage their fears, right? Once you have everything in place, the contract is signed, if you collect 50% up front or whatever, a down payment up front, that's collected, you've now started the process. Just drop the author a note saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. What could it hurt? It just bolsters your credibility and your professionalism. And, it could get you a few referrals and maybe some repeat business in the process, because not only do you understand and they trust you now with their book, continue to build that to make you just irreplaceable, and then they just sing your praises to everyone on social media. I think that tangent's done. I think we're done now. When it comes to characters, if it's a fiction book where there's characters, I think, and I've done this myself, and I think it comes from our definition, or what we think a voice actor is when we first get started, because we start to think about a voice actor as a cartoon narrator. Basically, we revert to voice acting as cartoonish, right? And we've all done it. So that then translates over to audiobooks, and we go over the top with our characters, unless that's what the author wants. I'll just add that caveat. If it's something like sci-fi or something fantastical or a children's book, then the characters might be a little bit more over the top. if that's what the author wants. But every character in every book shouldn't be a cartoon version of the character. It's more about the why the character is doing something, right? The understanding the emotional subtext of what is happening in the scene, right? When you're narrating as a character dialogue, is there emotional truth behind what it is that you're saying? Is the character voice consistent? Is there enough differentiation between characters? And it doesn't have to be over the top. Just subtle differences. I always recommend for this case study for character differentiation is Scott Brick's narration of Jurassic Park. It's a great example of just subtle character differentiation. Just enough to keep them all different, but it's nothing that you wouldn't be able to keep consistent, right? Just subtle shifts in cadence or pacing or the melody of the voice. Maybe, one's a little bit more nasally than the other. Maybe one speaks a little bit faster, a little breathier. Very subtle shifts. I'm tangent. I make sure that I touched on everything that I wanted to do. Oh, also positive attitudes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I've heard so many new narrators talk about interacting with clients as if the client is being difficult or if the client is asking too much of them when it's really just the basic, again, think about it from the author's perspective. They're giving you something so valuable to them and then money on top of it. They're trusting you with a lot. Of course, they're going to ask questions, right? They want to make sure that you're both on the same page before they give you this big valuable thing. So keeping a positive attitude and remaining professional while you're having these conversations is everything. It's going to help to continue to build that trust. It's not just a project. It's a collaboration, right, of something super important to the author. So if you're getting defensive, or if you're getting like curt or short one-word answers, I would consider maybe taking the time to provide better responses, is all I'm going to say. Again, always think about from the client's perspective, where they're coming from. Will definitely help. All right, I've done enough yapping for now. Just Polly on Instagram says, I just booked my first role ever. Congratulations. A narration. I'm nervous but excited. I've got my first meeting with the author on Friday. Congratulations. What are some things to absolutely avoid doing? Is if it's a Zoom meeting, which I'm assuming it is, and that's pretty common these days, to meet with the author on Zoom before you even get started. It's a great opportunity to touch on what should be narrated, what shouldn't be narrated. For example, if the client sends you the manuscript before the meeting, which I recommend that you ask for it so that way you have questions to ask, take a look at the manuscript and see what sections are included. If there's like an about the author, if there's a dedication, if there's a perhaps like other books by this author, if there are, I'm trying to think of course, references and citations are typically not included in audiobooks. It just kind of slows down the pace. But if there are other sections that are typically not included in an audiobook, ask the author if they want them included, and then make sure that your pricing reflects that. Take a look and see if there are PDFs, images, illustrations, tables, graphs, anything that is used to reference something that you're narrating. Obviously, we can't narrate those. So what you could let the author know at that point during your discussion is that they can include those, all of those graphs, illustrations, images on a separate PDF. And then you would have to reference which one while you're talking. So, for example, in the book, if in the book copy it says, see image 1 for, whatever it is that you're referring to or explaining, you'll have to do that for the audiobook, but then you'll have to say, see image 1 in the accompanying PDF. So those are things to keep in mind because that will need to be inserted into the manuscript, or you'll have to remember to do that. But you'll also have to match what you're saying to where those images are in the accompanying PDF. I hope that makes sense. I would say as the narrator, just have those questions ready. Did you want these sections included in the audiobook? Are there any accents, dialects? Is there anything that I need to know about the characters or how you want this delivered before we get started, right? I'm hoping at this point you already have pricing and timelines squared away, so we don't need to touch on those. But I'm sure the authors probably got questions as well. So I would say just be open to questions and be ready to have answers. But first and foremost, relax. Have a cup of coffee, have some water with you. It'll be fine. You're just talking to another person and answering their questions. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. All right, let's see if we have any questions on TikTok really quick. NYM Koi says, I'm prepping a Kickstarter for my first audiobook. That's fantastic. Good for you. That's fantastic. Yeah, I know they're an investment for sure. But it's a one-time investment, right? Because once you have it done, it's there for, depending on which platform you're on, you're on there for what, 7-10 years? And then you get to keep all the royalties if it's per finished hour. Let's see. I was looking at the AI description of my thing here and it said, okay, I thought for a second it said an AI voice actor. I was like, what? No, clearly not AI. All right, let's get to the comments on YouTube. If you have questions on TikTok, please ask them. That's what I'm here for. You're welcome, just Polly. Okay, let's get to the comments on YouTube. USA PE says, greeting friends. You were here early. 333. Paul Landrigan says, good day, Angela et al. From a thunderous Dunmow, UK. Can't join the live sessions as I'm heading down trying to complete a book, but I voted performance. Well, there you go. Get back to work. And if that's not the author's key concern, in my honest opinion, it ought to be. Yeah, I think, I guess it depends on what you consider to be performance. I'm always overthinking. I overthink everything. I mean, you guys probably know that by now. I overthink everything. Performance could be a couple of different definitions depending on who's looking at it and stop, pump the brakes. Okay. So performance could be the actual acting of the book, or it could be the way that you're delivering the voiceover as well. Because if it's fiction, it's probably going to be more performance. If it's nonfiction, it's probably going to be more engagement. Being the authoritative voice, right? You are the source of the knowledge, so you have to understand, or you have to sound like this is, you wrote these words, right? You are the authoritative source on this topic. So although that is technically acting and therefore performance, but I think it could go either way, like acting as dialogue and as a character, or as engagement for perhaps I'm wrong, but I guess that all goes under the performance umbrella, is what I would think. I mean, do you guys agree on TikTok? You guys aren't saying anything. I know there's a lot of you watching. Ask your questions. Ken says, 2 of my 3 largest books were awarded to me, primarily because of my background in the sport and my relatable experience. Well, there you go. And I think that's one thing that we forget as voice actors, audiobook narrators, when we're filling out bios and we're filling out profiles on platforms, or um, if people ask us questions about our work experience, let's just say, we we think that it has to be all voiceover related, like our lives didn't exist before voiceover came into it. And that's not true. That's not true at all. I include in my bios that I've spent, you know, 6 years in the construction industry. I think, was it? Oh my God, I don't remember how long I was in there. And 20 years in automotive. I include that stuff because it gives me a leg up in those industries. If someone were to ask me to narrate something about a car dealership, or something about the service industry and automotive, or something that people in the industry would understand, the lingo, how it's pronounced, how, that clarity and that understanding come through in your read, right? If you're talking about, shooting concrete and the cement truck and how everything works on the cement truck, could you say that if you've never done it before? I mean, could you narrate it confidently and sounding like you've been doing it for a million years if you haven't before? Maybe, but it'd be a lot easier if you actually had that experience. So including work that you've done before as your life experience and not just your work experience, that could definitely help land you more work in those industries. For sure. Medical, if you've been a nurse before, or in pharmacy tech, I mean, that kind of stuff will definitely help with medical narration because you have a better understanding of how to approach some of those very technical words and how they're pronounced properly, right? Ken says that, and they liked my sitting around the bonfire after a day's jumping and telling stories style of delivery. There you go. So performance also played into their pick. Abe Froman says, I picked performance because I believe that's typically what lands us the gig, but I believe it's more of an all of the above scenario. Yeah, I would have to say that's pretty much it. And looking at the poll, 60% of you said, still say performance. There's a gnat in here. 16% of you said audio quality and 16% reliability, and 9% of you said communication. And that is so funny to me that the others are so much lower. Communication is huge, but it's really an all of the above. But performance probably weighs a little bit heavier than most, but your audio quality, your reliability, and the communication, which adds to the reliability, I think are a big part of that, for sure. All right. Hello, everyone. Vina says, eclairs in the back. I like it. I love me some eclairs. Studio Production says, morning from Seattle. Sunny and gonna be warm for us. 85 high expected. Yay for basement studio. I'm so jelly. It's almost 9:30 here in Arizona, and it's already 90 degrees. Right now. Already. 90. Homebound Audio says, it all matters, I'm sure, but I have to believe and chose performance. Tanya says, evening all. Evening for you. I voted performance because that's what my authors who have given feedback have said. In one case, mine was the voice they had in their head whilst writing. Tanya, I have to imagine that probably is the case for a lot of authors. If you've not heard Tanya's voice, are you blushing, Tanya? She's probably smiling ear to ear with that beautiful smile of hers right now. She has one of the most beautiful voices I have ever heard. As Allie used to say, butter on a biscuit. We do have a super chat. Hold on. I'm coming. Ren, another emerging beautiful voice. Ren says, thoughts on doing a character voice as the narrator, using accents and age. I would say yes, if that's what the author is asking for. If you're looking at of course, this is why I say always read the tech specs, any notes, any information provided by the author before you even get started, because a lot of times they will often tell you what they're looking for. If the narrator is I don't know, if they were born and raised in Boston, then they might be looking for a Boston accent, right? If the author, or if the narrator is of a certain age, or the if it's, let's just say it's first person and the narrator is the main character because it's from their point of view, is what I'm saying. So if that character is born and raised in Boston and is of a certain age, in their 30s, their 40s, maybe they're a teenager, depending. So all of that stuff should be given to you. In those instances, yes, those auditions should fit what the author is asking of you, for sure. But if they give you nothing, and maybe it's nonfiction, there's still typically filters that they're looking for, like if they're looking for a North American accent, or, but let's just say in the instances where absolutely nothing is given to you, you could, if you thought it appropriate, I mean, why not? If there are a couple of different ways that it could go, I would say follow your instincts. If you want to give them 2 takes, perhaps put in the beginning of the audition file, this is take 1 of 2, so they know to listen to another take coming behind the first one, right? You could do that. But if you don't do that, and if the first take is not what they're looking for, they're not going to continue to listen on and find the other take, right? That's why I say that. But I would just say follow your instincts, and make sure that you're giving what the author is looking for. I thank you for the super chat. It's still that time of year here where everything is blooming. So the pollen is pollinating. Hi, Space Angel. Okay. Back to the commentos. Abe says to Tanya, oh, I got click happy. We all know we get click happy. After hearing your reads, I can fully believe that. Yeah, I'm telling you, Tanya's got one of those voices. Colleen says, I think that new authors may be so excited to get their book on the shelf. Of course they are. And I think when a brand new author and a brand new audiobook narrator come together to create something, that is a magical time because you both are learning so much from each other, right? You'll learn a lot of lessons that way. Because although the author is excited to get their book out into the world in all its formats, you as the narrator need to step in and say, hey, I understand you're excited, right? And not just say, no, this is going to take 45 days. You got to calm down, right? This is going back to what I was saying before. It's all in how you handle that and relay the information or deliver this information. It's all, it's tact. It's wearing your customer service hat. So remember that this is a big deal for them and say, hey, I understand you're excited, but this is all of the work that I need to do. I need to read the book. I need to prep the manuscript. I want to make sure that my understanding of your words is coming through appropriately, right? That I need to read the book. I need to record all the files, and sometimes that takes twice as long in and of itself. Then I need to aerate. I need to edit, format the files. That also takes time. Of course, I will get this to you as fast as I possibly can, but I don't want to take any shortcuts. I don't want to do your work any injustice, right? If you serve it up that way, instead of, hey, wait a minute, this is going to take me more time. You don't understand me. That could be an immediate turnoff. That is basically the gist of what I'm trying to get through today. Paul Silver, another fantastic voice. Good morning. Is anyone else in this group obsessed with the mini brand mini books? Now I need them all. Sorry, squirrel. I personally am not. I'm a nerd. I'm more of a video game nerd. and a diamond art nerd. What else do I nerd out on? Books, of course. I have a very big collection of books. Just a nerd. Tammy says, I personally think it is matching as close as possible to the voice they heard in their head for at least a year while writing, then performance. Yeah, I think all of these things come into play for sure. Oh, I see crystals. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Tiger Lily says, Happy Tuesday, everyone. Colleen says that they picked the narrator quickly without really knowing what good sound quality is. My first, what is that? The audition was landed using a computer mic, and the book was recorded with the USB mic. Yeah, I know that my first couple of books recorded in the living room. Actually, no, I think I moved down here. Anyway, I had no idea. I was pretty much tone deaf to what was going on in my room, sound quality wise. But my first couple of books were produced in definitely not the way my space is set up now. So there was noise, there was echo, it probably sounded like hot garbage. But I think what had happened is that the performance came through, or the understanding of the genre came through, or whatever it is that the author liked came through. And that was what was most important. Tammy says, I've been seeing a lot of books pulled from ACX by the author lately. I think, yeah, I'm seeing that too. I'm also hearing that a lot of authors are not going the ACX route, that they are choosing different platforms. And I have to wonder if it's because of the royalty share model, or if it's the scamming, or if it's the AI. I mean, or a combination of all of those. If you're an author watching, tell us what it is. What are you hearing? Why are you guys leaving ACX? We would like to know. Ben, voice actor, says, afternoon, everyone. Hello. Hello, Joy from Michigan. Don't worry about it, Colleen. Yeah, my typos. Autocorrect hates me. I screw up my texts all the time. Abe says to Tammy, they may have found the author they wanted and took down the post to stop the auditions from... they found the narrator they wanted and took down the post. That could be too. That could be too, because a lot more... I'm seeing a lot more collaborations happening or coming from social media. A lot more narrators are showcasing what they can do on social media by going live and narrating live and networking, interacting, just being visible and present and available. So they're finding more work on social media. Therefore, if an author has something posted on ACX soliciting auditions, and they just happen to find someone on TikTok narrating live, and they say, that's my voice, you need to audition for my book. Or maybe we're just going to go, well, no, at that point, I think they probably signed the contract to be on ACX. So it's interesting. It's interesting. But just keep in mind that ACX is not the only place that we can find audiobook work. It's only one platform. It is not the only platform. Christian Carlston says, hi, I'm able to actually spend some time in one of these. Good. Good, I'm glad. And these are all, of course, these are recorded. So if you miss anything, you can always come back and watch the replay on YouTube. Thank you for all the likes on TikTok, you guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let's see. Abe says, oh, I see, you corrected. They may have found the narrator they wanted. They removed the listing to stop the audition from coming in while they take time to nail down the contract specifics. Could be. Speaking of social media queens, Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca. I went with performance, but all the others like reliability and communication get you hired again. They also help with your reputation and being recommended to other authors, of course. And of course, if you're in a business where, well, actually every business can benefit from repeat clientele and referrals, you definitely want those. You definitely want those. Oh, click happy again. Oh, here we go. Clickety, clickety. Dwight says, good morning, Angela, the great. Oh, thanks, Dwight. I hope this finds you and your fellow Angelinos during doing great and having a wonderful day. So far, so good. So far, so good. Let's see if we can. What time is it? Oh, we got 20 minutes. We got time. Tammy says to Abe, doesn't that negate the contract? Or maybe they found their narrator and moved to a different platform due to the royalty. I mean, it could be. I know ACX just, they keep revising the royalty share. How is everybody finding that? The change to the royalty share. I mean, that is the one thing that we can count on in this life, period, is change. Change is always, you have to adapt and overcome. Let's see. If there's any questions on TikTok, which is funny. Thank you for joining on TikTok. Please share the stream, like it, do all the TikTok-y things. I appreciate it. Trying to grow and share my tangents with more people. Pam says, good morning, everyone. The authors would be more interested in performance. Publishers would be more apt to pay more attention to other categories, and they are the ones who hire you for the future. If the author's using a publisher, I think my head is more with, for this conversation, more with indie self-published authors, because I think that is so much easier now than it has ever been. Amazon, through KDP, has made it so it's never been easier to self-publish your work. You could do everything on your own. I just published a book. I just published a gratitude book on Amazon, and that was fairly easy. I don't have my print copy in here with me, but that is something that I can't make into an audiobook because it's all journal prompts and, quotes and stuff like that. So that wouldn't be appropriate for an audiobook, but my point is that it's I think we're focused more on self-published books today, self-published authors today. Lex says, hi, everyone. I think performance and communication are a big deal, but I'm sure there are some authors that are sticklers for all those options, and rightfully so. Yeah, I would have to agree with you, because performance and communication, I think, add to your reliability. Your ability to deliver on time, to give those check-ins and things like that, those definitely add to your reliability and your professionalism as a professional. Dwight says, I answered the poll as communications priority. I'm only doing this because yesterday I ran across an author that was scammed by a narrator whom did text-to-speech and took the money for the production. The author is totally freaked out and is working with ACX to rectify as best as they can. Normally, all of the items in the poll are equally important. Yeah, it's usually a trick question. And I think that's why you guys always say, well, there's no all of the above. That would be an easy out. So I don't do that. I want you guys to give me your opinions so we can talk about them, break them down. Right? Homebound Audio says, I actually had an author call me this weekend and talk to me about how much this book meant to him personally. His whole point for the call was to see if I could understand and relate to that. Yes. Yes. Every time that I have talked to an author, and it wasn't a book to bolster business, or it wasn't like a somehow to drive sales. It wasn't like a tool for their business. If it was something personal that they spent a lot of time and effort on, yes, of course it's important. It's going to be, them handing over a piece of their soul to you and trusting you with it and then giving you money on top of that. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Abe says, Tammy, not necessarily. I got a gig where it was a duel, and because of that, we executed contracts through email. We obtained the contracts from ACX through everything, so everything was copacetic. I think she was referring to the contracts with ACX, because ACX also requires all the authors to sign a contract with them for the royalties, whether it's royalty share or it's per finished hour, and they pay you, and then the author collects the royalties. There are royalties involved for the author in each instance. So there's also a contract with ACX for the author. It's all about the tangent. Tanya says, since my professional name is my initials, I also make sure I sign my audition message as Tanya, so they know what to call me. It's more oh, good call. Good call. Yes. Good point. So if you're, whatever name that you're going by, even if it's a pseudonym, definitely sign off with your name or what you would like to be called or how they should refer to you. Because if I signed all my emails with voiceover Angela and then somebody, obviously Angela's in it, but if it was like voiceover magic or something like that, you know, I would want to give them my name so they don't have to call me voiceover magic. That's just, it's just weird, right? You know, it's the little things, Tanya. Christian says, I may or may not be an AI bot. That's weird. Good weird. John Meyer says, I just figured out who Angela reminds me of. Oh, boy. And would be an improvement over GLaDOS from Portal. I don't know who that is. Do you guys know who that is? I don't know who that is. John, you'll have to tell me who that is so I know whether or not to be insulted. Somebody's laughing. Jen's and TikTok is laughing. Who is that? I don't know who that is. Now I'm all self-conscious. It's a good reference? Okay, thank you for that. Okay, now I feel a little bit better. Eric Grimes says, hi, Angela and all. I just brought an author to Academy Voices who was scammed through ACX. Oh, no. And was understandably gun-shy. He wanted to work with me because of a recording I did for him, but communication, both with me and with Anthony, was very important to him. I think that is something huge, especially now. I think in the age of AI becoming a bigger and bigger deal and being used for all different kinds of reasons by more and more people, it's kind of going back to what happened with everybody during the COVID time. Everybody was so separated and sequestered and, you know, kept apart from each other. We were kind of yearning for that human connection. And also on the same page, we have more and more opportunities to be scammed, right? There's all these AI agents and all of this stuff that we have to be conscious of and keep our guard up against. It's now so relaxing. It's more comforting, I think, to have the ability to talk to another person face to face, even maybe on the phone, like a video call or something like that. It's all of that weirdness, doubt, fear kind of goes away. And I think there's also something important to note, and I'm glad that you brought this up, Eric, because at Academy Voices, our audiobook production company, that's what we do. It's all, there's no like funnels, and I mean there are forms, of course there's forms to fill out, but every author is vetted, consulted, talked to with the owner of the company, Anthony Pica. So all of this scam, you know, fear and worry just goes out the door because we work with everybody. It's all about the human interaction at Academy Voices. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's super important, and I think it's going to become even more important in the direction we're going with, you know, AI. Tanya says, my current author had a bad experience with communication in the past, so I was happy to reassure them that I would keep in touch and be clear in all communication with them. It is basic consideration. It is. Venus says, that is exactly what happened to me. Auditioned, author said it was great, but not for this book. Then she contacted me and said that my voice for her made her do an autobiography. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've had that happen too, where someone said, you're fantastic. You're great, but you're not great or perfect. A good fit, I should say. You're not a good fit for this particular project. But I have other projects in the wings. And then they contacted me months later and said, hey, remember me? I'm like, yeah, of course I do. Here's this other project. When can you get started? That happens. So keep that in mind also, that all of the content, all of the marketing, all of the effort that you're putting in today may not pay off today, may not pay off tomorrow, but it will pay off at some point. So just keep at it. Continue to be accessible, visible, reliable, and it will come back to you. Colleen says, just submitted an audition for a paid book. Psilocybin for women. I sent message, she messaged me back. I used to own the fungi farm. She's asking me grow questions. Maybe this will be my first paid. I mean, could be. If you're the fungi lady. I mean, psilocybin I'm sure you know about it. It sounds like a pretty good fit, right? Abe says, Angela, have you considered doing an entire episode on character development, getting into the nitty gritty of it? I've considered it, yes. Have I executed it? No. I think that's a good idea, though. I think that's a good idea. It may be something that we could do in Launchpad, too, as a group. Actually, we were talking about doing something with archetypes, developing archetypes, and then that way you have a solid foundation for a character type, and then you can add slight modifications to it for different characters that are close to that archetype, right? But that is definitely something that we can talk about. Jean says, I've been lucky with one author who wants me to voice all the books for a series. Wow, good for you. I've already done the four of the books and am tackling book 5 starting in July. Performance was what hooked the author. Great. Congratulations, Jean. Abe says, one thing I've run into on ACX is at the end where in the about the author or in its own blurb are requests to leave a review of the book. ACX doesn't allow that. Let rights holder know and leave it out. Obi-Wan says, 60 auditions, no offers, getting discouraged. Any suggestions? Keep going. Keep going. Because if you quit today, it could be tomorrow that the author who's looking for your voice is soliciting auditions. I've seen narrators do their first audition and land a book job. I've also seen narrators submit 250 auditions before they saw their first job, and now they're booked and busy all the time. It could be that you're just either auditioning for 60 books that aren't quite a fit genre-wise for your voice, or 60 authors who just didn't think that you were a fit for what they wanted. Or it could be 60 auditions where there could be something in your audio quality that's keeping you back. Maybe, it could be really anything. But most of the time, it has nothing to do with something that you're doing wrong. Right? Most of the time, it's just you're not the right voice for the project. But I would say just keep going. If you want to be sure that it's not something audio quality related, get peer feedback on your audio quality. Take your latest audition and submit it to another audiobook narrator and ask them if they hear anything that's off-putting about it. Don't get into specifics, but just say, hey, I just want another pair of ears on this. And I want to see if you hear something that I don't, that maybe I'm just accustomed to hearing and I don't recognize it as a problem. Right? That's what I would do. Join a community for training and feedback. Absolutely. Communities are huge for this industry, not only for the learning and the growing and the support, but also for the networking, right? A VO's journey, we have all of that. We have training, we have community, and then we also have an audiobook production company. We have all of that. By the way, if you click that QR code, if you're watching on Instagram or YouTube, that QR code will take you to join a VO's journey, 50% off your first month. Getting click happy again. Tammy says, okay, I'm not understanding the comment you made about the Kickstarter and 7 to 10 years keeping all the royalties. Tammy, that comment was for somebody on TikTok. Most audiobook distribution platforms, the contract for royalty share or for the book to be earning royalties is a minimum of 7 years. Some go to 10 years minimum for royalty share income. Abe says, Obi-Wan says, if you haven't joined any groups, do so and get some feedback from your peers. Many times they can point you in the right direction. Absolutely. It's been about that time I got to do the puzzle thing for TikTok to show that I'm not a bot or doing something weird, I suppose. Okay, let's see. Paul says, I think the poll was tricky because I think authors, smart ones, consider all of it. I choose performance because some authors I've worked with are radio silent but are happy in return, and some don't know a cue. Audio quality? That's true. I mean, it's really hard to say exactly what it is for each author as to what they're looking for specifically or what's acceptable or, you know? So you just have to shoot your shot because you can't see inside the author's head to see exactly what it is that they're looking for or, right? I think it's just one of those things that they know it when they hear it. You know? So there's no way to know exactly what that is. So as a narrator, you just have to shoot your shot. Make sure that you do your due diligence. You do what you're supposed to do on your end. Take the time to understand the copy, understand the W's, right? Who am I as the narrator? Who am I narrating to and why am I narrating to them? Understand the emotional subtext if it's fiction and there's characters and it's a scene that you're acting out. Make sure that you have a firm grip on that understanding. Give it your best shot, follow your instincts, and then leave a nice comment about how the book resonated with you, connected with you, how you understand the content, how whatever it is, and how you are flexible as a narrator given the content that you were given and the context you were given. This was your best interpretation of that, but you are flexible to change it in any way they want to, and then send the audition and then move on to the next one. Right? Review Exchange Group says, why did I choose reliability? First-time authors worry about the process, of course, as we do as narrators. We all worry about the process. It's scary. It's something unknown. As a producer who's been down the road more than a few times, I can tell them what to expect and what might work best with sample. Colleen, I can't read your comment out loud because of one of the words in it, but I read it. Joy says, I picked audio quality because your voice could be awesome, but if your audio quality is bad, that's a deal breaker. Yeah, and bad is also a relative term. I mean, because if you've been a voice actor or an audiobook narrator for any length of time, your ear you're training your ear to be more attuned to what to listen for, what is considered to be bad, right? But in the beginning, you don't know what that is. And neither do brand new authors, for the most part, because, for whatever the reason is. So what it is for them is your understanding of the content and your performance, you delivering that content, how you do that is what's going to make the difference, right? And I think it's also going to depend on where the author is in their journey. If this is their first book, if they've never listened to an audiobook before, Or if this is like their 50th book, you know, so they already know the process. They know what good audio quality is. They know what a good performance is. So, you know, it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's got their own preferences and experience. So it's really hard to nail down what exactly they're looking for. They're just going to know when they hear it. So as a narrator, again, just shoot your shot, you know, just shoot your shot. Just do your part and audition. Walter Byrne on Instagram says, it's true. I sometimes go back when declined to see who an author decided to go with. Sometimes who they went with ends up having a lot of mouth noise, room noise, etc. I'm always amazed. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's not always performance itself. Sometimes it's the voice, sometimes it's your pacing. Sometimes it could be just one little irritating thing about your voice to that person, you know, that they go, oh, I love this guy, but this one little thing I can't do. But we don't know what that is. Right? Again, as a narrator myself, I listen to audiobooks, and sometimes there's like a little quirk that the narrator has that my brain just like, there's a red light that goes off every time I hear it. And it's no fault of theirs. It's me. It's my preferences. It's my brain. So, right, there's really no way of knowing. But just shoot your shot. Homebound Audio says, my philosophy is as a narrator, I'm not selling a product. I'm offering a service and building relationships. I'm new, but it seems to be, that's exactly how you should be approaching it. Because that's what it is. Yes, you are a product. Your voice is a product, but it's also a service. You're providing a service. You're providing a solution. You're building a long-term relationship with someone, preferably, right? You want them to feel comfortable working with you. It is all about relationships. And that service is that for audiobooks, you're delivering a format that is, as we said in the beginning, is something that's now expected of every author, to have a print copy, an ebook copy, and an audiobook copy version, right? Thank you for all the likes. You guys rock on TikTokies. Thank you, Gabs. I appreciate you. Let's see. Any more questions? Where are we at on time? Oh, we're already at an hour. All right, let's wrap this up here. Review Exchange Group says, how about as a show topic, discuss the review promo code and how useless it is. Audible does not use these reviews, plus there are just few, 25 instead. I'm using Audible Bounty Link Unlimited. Yeah. I mean, if it's useless, why should we talk about it? Right? But to your point, it's a code to get reviews, to get views, to get feedback. Yeah. You're much better off promoting your book on social media. Hey guys, guess what just released today? Here's the link. You probably get more organic and better feedback that way, better engagement that way, I would think. What matters most is listening hours, not reviews. Exactly. Paul says, my very first audiobook that got me into narrating was a full cast book. I sent my audition with just a raw file as requested and booked it. But that gave me a false understanding of sound quality. Oh yeah, I can see you kind of started backwards from the majority of us, where we all start out as solo narrators with horrible audio quality, trying, beating our heads up against a wall trying to get audio quality down. Whereas you started with a full cast read with just raw audio. So it's kind of undoing some things for you, but I think you're doing fine. You're doing fine, Paul. Kenny's Voice by Kenny Martin says, come on, StreamYard, what are you doing? I haven't had my first voiceover job yet. Is there a successful process I need to follow if I'm hired to narrate an audiobook? There's a lot that I could say about that question, Kenny, but I would say you've already started the right way. Watch videos, get engaged, get involved, join groups, get some training. Consume all the free online content that you can, but don't get stuck there. Make sure that you do move forward and getting the equipment, getting the training, getting practice in with groups, right? Doing the auditions, getting out there. Don't get stuck in procrastinating. Consume all the content, make some decisions about what you want to do, which direction you want to go in, and move, right? As I used to say, ready, fire, aim, right? Ready, fire, aim. Paul, come on, StreamYard. Paul says, another thing with ACX, I believe some authors don't know how to do a direct offer. So sometimes they have to put the audition up, even if they're using a narrator they used before. I think, yeah, to your point, we should probably make content highlighting that so authors know that. Let's see. I gotta look for questions. Review Exchange Group says, have you talked about the new 25-25 royalty share that ACX is now implementing in response to authors and narrators moving away from ACX? I'm thinking more seriously about being non-exclusive on ACX. I have not, I know of it, but I don't know all of the details about it. So I think I need to really go and look at that change before I can confidently speak on it. But yeah, I mean, you would have to, for anyone curious about the topic, just go to ACX and, read all the content there about all of their new changes. Chris says, can you see me, Angela? I'm literally bouncing down the road driving a cement mixer currently. That's awesome. And you pulled over to message? Maybe I can see you. I used to work in construction, so I know a little bit. Oddly Specific Jules says, I got that message. One of my rights holders changed to the new royalty share, but I couldn't figure out what changed. Yeah, I'm going to have to go and really read through that before I can confidently talk about it with you guys. Kiki says, procrastinating. Don't get stuck there, Kiki. Don't get stuck there. Take a step forward. Michaela says, I picked performance. It gets you the job, but audio quality should also be there. Then everything else will establish a good relationship with the author and your likelihood for future work. Perfect. Perfectly stated. Thank you for all the likes, you guys. You guys are amazeballs. Gabs on TikTok says, how do you feel about VOs attending book conventions? Yes, please do it. Yes, but any way that you can market yourself, introduce yourself, do it. Why wouldn't you? What could be done better to get more ROI for those? Oh my gosh, go shake some hands, take some business cards with you, wear a shirt that has your audiobook business on it with your logo. You could even put on the back, ask me about your audiobook. Or, you know what I mean? Don't overthink it. Just go shake some hands, meet some people. Hand out business cards. Go see what the new trends are. I mean, there's so much value to go into book conventions, and not just book conventions, but any kind of conventions. Comic book conventions, anime, anything you can think of. If we're talking outside of audiobooks and just as a voice actor, every business needs a voice actor in some way, shape, or form. From their phone greetings to their educational content to their social media content, right? Go and meet people. It's absolutely good. Okay, I gotta look for questions. Me. Let's see. Michaela says, I just got a notification about the royalty share contract changing for my first book on ACX. It's so confusing when you read how it's changing. Yeah, I got similar. I got the same notifications, and I didn't really look too deep into it. I was like, I narrated that book 7 years ago. It was probably due for renewal. That's why, but I don't know. I'll have to really go and take a look at what the actual changes were. Relationships are the key for sure. Tammy says, one narrator that I have listened to went so fast that I had to turn the speed down to 0.8 on my app to listen to the book. And I've heard a lot about narration speed on social media. There's a lot of people who turn the playback speed up to 2 times, 3 times even, just to, get through the book or get through the information. That's just going to come down to preference. I do think I still will die on the hill that audiobooks should be slower than average narration, meaning reading speed. So when we read for pleasure, we read fast with our eyes. We should not be narrating that fast. Because again, this is somebody's baby. This is somebody's very important thing. So you want to make sure that those words breathe, right? That every word lands as it should, especially if it's fiction. Because you got dialogue, you've got emotions, you've got all of these elements to make it human. So we don't want to just out the out the words, right? We don't want to just blah, 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 because that doesn't do them any justice at all. But if the listener prefers it at a certain speed, they're more than welcome to turn it to whatever speed they need to. But as a narrator, it should be slowed down a bit to allow those words to land as they should, as I said. All right, that's all I see for comments on the YouTubes. Let's take a look over. Whoops. Hitting all the buttons. Thank you for all the likes and things. I really appreciate it on TikTok. You guys are amazing. All right, I don't see any other comments on Instagram, so I'm going to leave it here for today. If there's something that you guys want to talk about in future live streams, again, I'm here every Tuesday at noon. So if there's something you want to talk about as a group or something that we want to deep dive in, then please let me know. I mean, again, these are for you. These are for you. So if you guys want to talk about something, let's talk about it. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Haven't said that in a while. If you're in Launchpad, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Yeah, launch. Yeah. Oh, and also on Anthony's channel for the Academy Voices Live. So I'll see you guys there. But until the next time, keep auditioning. Bye.